for your brand? Visit IllinoisFarmRadio.com and connect with the voices that farmers trust most.
Wellness starts with prevention. Book your annual appointment online today with SIU Center for Family Medicine in Lincoln by clicking their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local news report. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. Getting your taxes done is a yearly chore that few look forward to. Connie Miller with the DeWitt Savings Bank explains that as we all try to make it through this time of year, you should avoid tax tips from AI or social media. She says they often present information as fact with little or no basis behind it.
No, I would not recommend that. Just to give you an idea, the other day I put a few things in AI just to check it out and see how accurate it was. And it gave me incorrect information on several tax items. So I would not use that. The best source is the horse's mouth, right? So IRS.gov is going to give you the best guidance and the best information. That's the place that they're the ones making the rules. So you might as well read it from them, right? Okay. We're seeing a lot of social media things that are actually, some of them are fraudulent that they're having people do. So to give you an idea, they're telling people to overstate their withholding, like make a fake 1099 or W-2 saying you earned this much and this is how much you withheld, which is illegal. And you can get in a lot of trouble for doing that. So don't do that. Household employment saying you had, so like saying inventing fictional household employees that you paid, but you didn't. And they tie all these numbers back. If you have a fake employer and you have fake withholding, they're going to figure it out eventually because the employers have to send in what they withheld. And so if they don't get a W-3 from this employer, they're going to eventually, it's all going to not tie up and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Yeah. And there will be penalties and fines.
Miller explains that taxes have gotten a little easier in recent years. She says about 85% of people take the standard deduction and adds that using tax software is all right as long as it is reputable.
Pretty easy in theory now to do your taxes because most people just take the standard deduction because it's so high. So it's I thought it was 31.1, but someone on the radio on my way here actually said 32.2 for married filing jointly. So if that's your standard deduction, most people are not going to have property taxes and mortgage interest more than that and charitable deductions. Some will, but like they said, like 85% of people take the standard deduction. So using reputable tax software is an option. There are a whole host of shady tax preparers right now, and they might offer you online, we'll do your taxes, and they might base their rate based on how much of a tax refund they give you. Sure. And some of those companies will give you fake tax refunds. Say your tax refund is this much. You file your taxes and later it's all bogus and you don't get that money because they put a bunch of credits that aren't real, whatever. And eventually it's figured out and they're gone with your money. So be very careful.
Miller points out that the Warner Library hosts people who are vetted and certified to help with your taxes. She notes that there is online software like H&R Block that helps you complete taxes on your own.
There's a lot of good software you can use, like H&R Block. You can do it yourself. The library has the VITA people, and they're all vetted. And I believe that they have to have a background check. Don't quote me, but I think they do. So those programs are very reputable. You don't want somebody stealing your information, or it's sitting somewhere in someone's office and they don't have it locked up. They don't have, I mean, you got to think about this. Their computers have to be secure. Their servers need to be secure.
Right.
Some of those scammy tax preparers too, they don't have what's called the PTIN. It's a preparer's tax ID number. The IRS requires you to have that to file other people's tax returns.
Okay.
So they might file the return without even putting a number in, or not even file the return.
IRS scams always increase during this time of year, and Miller reminds that the IRS will never reach out to you via text, phone call, or email. They will also never ask for immediate payment, especially in the form of gift cards or cryptocurrency. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, water recycling highlighted at recent Dudley Smith farm meeting. Law enforcement agencies across Illinois are adapting to new employment screening processes. For Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang, not a lot changes for his department. He explains that for those entering law enforcement from perhaps the private sector, those records are a bit more accessible now.
You know, it's one of those that background investigations are so important when we hire any of our staff, whether it's a dispatcher or corrections, but without a doubt, a deputy, you want to have a good background investigation. We've seen some really good interviews, some really good applications come in, only to start a background investigation and start seeing those red flags pop up. So we've always done a pretty good job. I don't think that the new law really affects us a whole lot. We were following all those. I took a lot of our procedures from the department where I used to work in Champaign and brought those here. They always did a very, very thorough background investigation. I think the key that's going to really help us, a lot of times when we go out and do those background investigations, more so with private employers versus former law enforcement agencies, we have a hard time getting employment records, the employment files from those private entities. With this new law, they're now required to provide those to us, the full employment background within 14 days. So that's what's going to really help us out is having some teeth in it to be able to get those records to do that background investigation. It can be a red flag. Sometimes you're dealing with such big corporations that it's hard to work your way through the HR department. But yeah, there's always that potential that there may be a red flag there as a reason why they're not turning some stuff over.
For Sheriff Vogelzang and his department, they have been blessed to not have to deal with a lot of the challenges of other departments with lots of turnover. He feels they draw from a lot of individuals who want to give back to the community in which they grew up.
No, for us, that's the big thing. We've always done a very thorough background. We're out there talking to neighbors. We do our credit checks, working with the Training and Standards Board to make sure there's no complaints, references, criminal history. We do a psychological exam with our employees for deputy anyways, and then physical and things like that. So it's a pretty extensive background process. Yeah, we've been very, very lucky. We've got a person going through a background investigation right now for deputy, and that would fill us back up. I think a big part of it is we don't really recruit from outside our geographical area. Most of our applicants are local, and they want to stay and contribute to the community that they grew up in. Just being able to recruit those that have spent a majority of their life in Piatt County.
Sheriff Vogelzang also attributes his current status as sheriff to the assistance of one of his deputies. The story goes that a deputy who was in the middle of CPR training saved the sheriff's life.
That's an interesting one. It actually involved myself. I just happened to be sitting right here at my desk eating some beef jerky and wasn't drinking enough water and truly started choking. I had zero airflow and I knew I was going to more than likely go unconscious. So I stepped out in the hall, and our chief deputy, who was in the office adjoining me, was actually going through is CPR AED research. Perfect timing. He ended up doing the Heimlich. I said, I have no doubt if I was alone that I probably would have went unconscious and not had the outcome that we did. So it was a choking incident. I've become a very big believer in things such as the life vac, which helps an individual that is choking. So we've since purchased several of those to have in the jail, dispatch, patrol, and at the courthouse. So if you haven't taken CPR, AED, a basic first aid, I would highly encourage it. You never know who you might save.
Yeah. I do hope that officer passed that research.
He did.
Yeah.
Flying colors.
I would say so.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would say so.
And that was actually our chief deputy. So he had an opportunity to become sheriff. He chose to save me instead of taking. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, it's, it is something that is so important to look at the CPR. You never know with infants and stuff like that, how fast those things can happen.
Sure.
Sheriff Vogelzang has recently touted initiatives like its drone program and others for the effectiveness of public safety. Follow along with all things Piatt County Sheriff's Department by finding them on Facebook. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
It's time to celebrate winter. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have extra savings on all new Chevrolets this month to celebrate the winter season. See our inventory of Chevrolet Trailblazers, Blazers, and the efficient Trax. We also have a good selection of our 7-passenger Chevrolet Traverse and Tahoes. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. See our winter celebration savings at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is just about 21 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Research from a University of Illinois assistant professor hopes to spearhead innovations in water recycling on farms. The volatility of weather conditions in central Illinois is what inspired the research. Droughts can wreak havoc on plants, while heavy rains may provide more water than what is ideal. Part of the research is understanding how excess water runs off through soil, while another goal is to determine the best methods of recycling water. Dr. Luciano Alves de Oliveira is the Department of Agricultural and Biological Engineering and is leading the project. He says plants can lose essential nutrients based on how water runs through the soil.
Central Illinois, basically, and most of the Midwest, or part of it, has a lot of tile drainage. So the tile drainage basically drains the water because the soils are heavy and the water doesn't pass through too much. What happens there, we short the path between the surface and the subsurface, and all the excess of water goes away. That is consolidated, and science has proven that it moves the nitrate and potentially some phosphorus away from the field. And we ended up losing the nutrients that were in the field sometime, and we lose a lot of water. That contributes to pollution and some of the field of studies that the nutrient loss reduction strategy wants to address. What got proven in the last report that the nutrient loss reduction strategy showed was that there was 5% of nitrate being released more compared to the baseline that they created, and 35% more of phosphorus.
As for one way to conserve the water, Oliveira proposes taking advantage of the surrounding land composition, including ponds and wetlands.
So you use the infrastructure of the tiles already because it's draining the water. The study comes now how we are going to hold this water in the landscape. Should we make a pond? Should we have a reserve? infrastructure to keep the water on. There are some constructed wetlands that could be used as a source of water that you can just route the excess of water there. And whenever the crop needs the water back, you can use the same infrastructure, the tile drainage. So you just apply the water back through the tiles, or you can use a conventional system of irrigation, sort of like center pivot or another type of sprinkler irrigation. The concept here is to use the tile drainage because the infrastructure is already there. So it would save a lot of costs.
For farms without those options currently available, the study looks to uncover other possibilities, such as constructing new wetlands.
So that is one piece of the study that we want to do because that is not available right now, currently. So there are several studies in Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana, even North Carolina, that they have this economical analysis. But from Central Illinois, which is the second, if not the first state that has more availability of land for drainage water recycling, we have no studies so far. So we want to know first how much water actually we need during the summer in a given dry year, how much can we hold, how much that would cost, and if we can use any type of wetlands, and how many potential places in Illinois can be a constructed wetland that would be a source of water and not harm the producer because they would have to give up some land for that. So what we want to show is you can give up some acreage, but you're going to regain all the yield that you were losing in that piece of land on the land that you're irrigating or putting the water back.
The Dudley Smith Farm Field Day was last week in Christian County. More information is available at extension.illinois.edu. Looking for an internship this summer? There may be an opportunity with the State Ag Pest Survey Coordinator, Kelly Estes.
But we're anticipating hiring probably 3 to 4 interns. Anticipated projects are very similar to years past where we're trapping in the spring and doing corn and soybean surveys throughout the state during the summer, along with some invasive species surveys. Reaching out directly is always an option. I'm happy to sit down and chat with anyone about what we do and what interns or summer workers do with our program. It's open to anyone, honestly, but we do gear it towards college students. Occasionally, I do have some older high school students that apply who are maybe FFA 4-H members who are really wanting to get some ag experience, some basic IPM knowledge or things like that. So we are pretty open to interns. You know, I've had some retirees before who maybe just want a little bit of something to keep busy during the summer. And really the basic requirements are a willingness to learn, willingness to travel almost daily throughout the state. So that requires a valid driver's license and ability to work with different people.
For more information, reach out to Estes at kcook8@illinois.edu. The hunting and timber land market remains strong in Illinois, says Tyler Sullins with Whitetail Properties.
You know, since COVID, we've had a low supply out there, and couple that with strong demand on recreational stuff. You know, our buyer pool has changed a lot with who we're dealing with. A lot of high net worth individuals. You know, we've kind of seen a shift in the market in the last probably 24 months. It's really kind of changed from what we used to see. We're seeing a bigger demand for large tracts than we are the smaller tracts. And they're harder to come by. So if you guys are willing to step up, and actually we're seeing the premium prices through large tracts now than what we used to see. It used to be, you know, if you were buying, the more acres you bought, the cheaper they got. Now it's kind of the backwards. The more you're buying, it seems like the higher the price is on it. So, you know, the buyer pool is you know, I've been in the business for 12 years and it's changed quite a bit from what it used to be of, you know, a lot of the land values have changed so much, which has kind of taken some of the buyers out of the ability to be able to purchase, to where the buyers now, we have a lot of cash buyers. If they are financing, it's not really contingent upon financing. So they've got a lot of the cash flow and stuff. So it's a lot of just high net worth individuals that are business owners. Maybe they sold a business or they got a big business they operate. And a lot of that is not local money. That's out of state money. Whether that's, we deal with a lot of people from all over the country. It's not just any specific area. So that's what we realize is it's you're able to travel and it's the buyers really come from a vast area anymore. So.
Whitetail Properties was founded in Pike County in 2007. They now have over 400 land specialists in 42 states. Whitetail Properties participated in the WIU Ag Mech Club's Farm Expo earlier this month in Macomb. Now for your local obituaries. Gregory E. Burke, 62, of Clinton, passed away at 9:25 a.m. February 12th at his residence, surrounded by loved ones. A celebration of Greg's life will be held at 2 p.m. Saturday, February 28th at the Clinton Eagles Lodge. Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton is in charge of cremation rites. Memorials may be directed to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Holly L. Grimes, 69, of Clinton, passed away at 4:57 p.m. February 13th at the Ark at Normal in Normal, Illinois. Arrangements are incomplete at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. We still have hope, in the words of today's show co-host Savannah Guthrie, in a new video posted to Instagram. The agonizing search for her mother, Nancy, goes on after more than 2 weeks. DNA from a glove found near Nancy Guthrie's home is being analyzed. Authorities want to determine whether it was worn by the masked armed man seen in door cam video on Nancy Guthrie's front porch the night she vanished. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, describes as small the security force he plans to keep in Minnesota. Iranian state media reports that Iran's top diplomat is in Geneva, where the second round of nuclear talks with the U.S. scheduled to take place tomorrow. An oil tanker linked to Venezuela has been seized by the American military in the Indian Ocean. The vessel had been tracked from the Caribbean. More details, srnnews.com.
When you're vacationing in your RV, there are some things you can always count on. Taking the kayaks out on the lake, hot dogs on the grill, and your sister's boyfriend pulling out his acoustic guitar.
Everyone quiet! Harrison's playing. Wow, you're so good, Harrison.
With Progressive, your RV is protected 24/7, so you're prepared for whatever you don't see coming. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
From Lionsgate and Kingdom Story Company comes the highly anticipated I Can Only Imagine 2.
Hey, it's Bart Millard from Mercy Me. And almost 10 years ago, we made a movie called I Can Only Imagine. And it did okay. But while everything was supposed to be perfect on the outside, real life hit on the inside. This is that true story.
Imagine what God can do again. I Can Only Imagine 2. In theaters this Friday. Rated PG. Parental guidance.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. A dense fog advisory continues. Cloudy skies expected with fog in spots early today with daytime highs approaching 62. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies. Tonight, lows dip down to about 40. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 33 degrees.
I'm weatherology meteorologist Derek Height with a significant weather update brought to you exclusively by ServPro of Piatt, DeWitt counties, your fire, storm, and water restoration specialists. A dense fog advisory continues until 9 a.m. this morning. A dense fog advisory means that widespread fog is likely to reduce visibilities to 1/4 of a mile or less, maybe near zero in spots. This fog may linger for a relatively long period of time as well, leading to significant travel delays. If you are out driving, slow down and use your vehicle's low beams for the best visibility possible. Take your time to stay safe. A dense fog advisory continues until 9 a.m. this morning. Stay tuned for additional updates. I'm meteorologist Derek Height.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. David Mirkovic had 25 points and 7 rebounds, and the number 8 Illinois Fighting Illini rebounded from back-to-back overtime losses with a 71-51 victory over the Indiana Hoosiers on Sunday. Kylan Boswell, the Illini's second leading scorer and top defensive player, returned and played nearly 33 minutes after missing 7 games with a broken right hand, his dominant hand, which was heavily taped and padded. Boswell had 9 points and 7 rebounds and committed one of Illinois' 2 turnovers. Keaton Wagler had 18 points, and Tomislav Ivicic had 14, including 12 in the second half for Illinois, who improves to 21-5 and 12-3 in the Big Ten. They were coming off overtime losses to Wisconsin and number 10 Michigan State. Ben Hummerkaus went 0 for 7 from the field, but led the Illini with 8 rebounds. Lamar Wilkerson had 21 points for Indiana, 14 in the first half as they fall to 17-9 and 8-7 in the Big Ten. He has scored at least 20 points in 10 Big Ten games this season. Tucker DeVries had 13 and Sam Alexis had 11 points and 8 rebounds for the Hoosiers, who were outscored 33-20 in the second half after trailing 38-31 at halftime. Illinois pulled down 15 offensive rebounds, which led to 17 second chance points, and out-rebounded Indiana 38-25. Indiana came into the game with 5 wins and 6 tries after a 4-game losing streak. Former Illini players and NBA rookies Kasparis Yakonis and Will Riley were at the State Farm Center to watch the game during the All-Star break. The two are Illinois' first one-and-done players. Indiana visits number 13 Purdue on Friday, while Illinois visits Southern California on Wednesday. Jaquan Johnson's 24 points helped Bradley defeat Southern Illinois 70-60 on Sunday. Johnson also contributed 7 rebounds and 3 steals for the Braves, who improved to 18-9 and 11-5 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Alec Huberges scored 14 points while going 5 for 9, 4 for 8 from three-point range. Ahmet Janovic had 4 of 7 from the field to finish with 8 points. Quelron House led the Salukis in scoring, finishing with 26 points. They fall to 12-15 and 6-10 in the MVC. Southern Illinois also got 12 points from Davion Sykes. Drew Steff had 6 points and 2 steals. Bradley was tied with Southern Illinois at the half at 28, with Johnson its high scorer before the break. Bradley turned a 3-point second-half lead into a 13-point advantage with a 10-0 run to make it a 48-35 lead with 11 minutes and 11 seconds left in the half. Johnson scored 17 second-half points. Both teams play next Wednesday. Bradley visits Valparaiso, and Southern Illinois goes on the road to play Drake. Ante Belgian's 16 points off the bench led UIC to an 83-56 victory over Illinois State on Sunday. Belgian finished 8 of 11 from the floor for the Flames, who improved to 15-12 and 10-6 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Abdul Momo added 13 points and 6 rebounds while shooting 6 of 8 from the field and 1 for 4 from the free throw line. Rashund Washington Jr., who went 5 of 5 from the field, also had 13 points. Johnny Kinziger finished with 12 points and 2 steals for the Redbirds, who fall to 17-10 and 9-7 in the MVC. Illinois State also got 9 points from Bowden Skunberg. Tyreek Coleman had 7 points. UIC took the lead with 4 minutes and 48 seconds left in the first half and did not trail again. Momo led the Flames with 9 points in the first half to help put them up 33-26 at the break. UIC extends its lead to 60-34 during the second half, fueled by a 19-3 scoring run. Washington scored a team-high 11 points in the second half as their team closed out the win. Michael Jordan, 6-time NBA champion, is now a Daytona 500 winner too. Tyler Reddick won the Great American Race on Sunday with his last lap pass at Daytona International Speedway that sent Jordan into a frantic celebration. The NBA Hall of Famer bear-hugged Reddick in the victory lane and then jointly hoisted the Harley J. Earl Trophy for the 23XI racing winner. Reddick in a Toyota led only one lap Sunday, the one to the checkered flag. He was the 25th different driver to lead a lap for a new Daytona 500 record. Reddick, a 30-year-old from Corning, California, won for the 9th time in the Cup Series and first time since late in the 2024 season. Winless last year, Reddick was primarily focused on his infant son, who was found to have a tumor in his chest that affected his heart. Reddick opened last year with a runner-up finish in the Daytona 500. He snapped the 38-race losing streak by finishing one place higher Sunday and winning to start a celebration that included multiple stars of NASCAR, including Jordan, a global icon, and Hamlin at 45, the oldest full-time driver in the Cup Series. Reddick is teammates with Bubba Wallace, who went to victory lane in tears after leading a race-high 40 laps before finishing 10th. Jordan wrapped his arms around Wallace from behind and spoke closely into Wallace's ear in a brief speech of encouragement. Hamlin, who drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, was involved in the final caution when he and teammate Christopher Bell collided with 9 laps remaining. It set up the final push to the finish over the final 4 laps. Elliott grabbed the lead at the start of the final lap when Carson Hocevar was spun off the track. Reddick made a huge surge with an assist from teammate Riley Herbst, made contact with Elliott that caused Elliott to crash, then sailed past to give Jordan a victory in NASCAR's biggest event of the year. Jordan was the face of the December federal antitrust lawsuit that NASCAR settled on the 9th day of trial. The settlement changed the revenue sharing model in the United States top motorsports series. Jordan watched the win from a suite overlooking the superspeedway built by the France family, NASCAR founders and private owners, that he just beat in federal court. NASCAR chairman Jim France, who was personally a defendant in the suit, went to victory lane to congratulate the winners. The victory marked a Daytona sweep for 3 team owners heavily involved in the trial. Bob Jenkins, who joined 23XI in suing NASCAR, opened the weekend with a victory when Chandler Smith won the Truck Series opener on Friday night for Front Row Motorsports. Richard Childress, who testified on behalf of 23XI and Front Row, was the subject of disparaging text messages and since departed NASCAR chairman Steve Phelps, who was the winning team owner Saturday when Austin Hill won. Then it was time for Jordan and Hamlin, the 2 front-facing litigants, as they got their first Daytona 500 victory together. Former race winners Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Joey Logano finished second and third as Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford each placed a driver on the podium. Elliott wound up 4th and sat dejected in disbelief on the outside wall of the track after climbing from his car. Matthew Tkachuk insists he and U.S. teammates were only focused on beating Germany in their preliminary round finale and never worried about scoring enough goals to pass Canada for the top seed at the Olympics. It's handled now after the U.S. defeated Germany 5-1 on Sunday night, 2 goals and an assist from captain Austin Matthews and 23 saves from Connor Hellebuck. The Americans finished group play unbeaten to clinch the 2nd seed in the knockout round. Canada put such a beatdown on France, winning 10-2, that the U.S. would have to had run up the score and beat Germany by 10 goals to pass the tournament favorite. The North American rivals cannot meet until the gold medal game. They first have to get there. The U.S. is set to face the winner of the qualification round game Tuesday between Sweden and Latvia, while Canada plays Czechia or Denmark in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. Sweden is the only European team at the Olympics with a full roster of NHL players, won 2 of its 3 preliminary round games, and only dropped to 7th because of a goal differential tiebreaker. It could be quite the test for the U.S., which has only faced Latvia, Denmark, and Germany so far. The Germany game was a chance for the Americans to fine-tune their play before the tournament goes to single elimination playoffs. Matthew Tkachuk had a pair of assists, and Matthews, the captain, just as he was at the Four Nations face-off a year ago, had his biggest showing of the tournament. Hellebuck also looked good in his second start, allowing only a goal to Tim Stutzel. The U.S. got the goaltending it expected from him after a shaky outing from Jeremy Swayman 24 hours earlier. The Maroa-Forsyth Trojans took down the Argenta-Oreana Bombers by a final score of 76-62 in a high school boys basketball Sangamo Conference tilt on Saturday in Argenta. The Trojans took advantage of Argenta-Oreana's slow start, leading 25-13 after the first quarter. The Bombers closed the deficit by 3, trailing 46-37 going into halftime. Both teams scored 13 in the third quarter, but Maroa-Forsyth pushed ahead to outscore the Bombers 26-21 in the fourth. Cabrin Lee led all scorers with 31 points for the Trojans. Kobe Lane added 22 points, including 7 buckets from distance. Luke Smith had 10 points. Argenta-Oreana was led by Tyson Tenen, who scored 20 points. Jackson Finch scored 13, while Carter Logue had 7. With the win, Maroa-Forsyth improves to 17-8 and 5-2 in the Sangamo Conference. The Bombers fall to 9-19 and 4-5 in conference play. Both teams will be in Sangamo Conference action on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. The Trojans will take on Riverton in Maroa, while the Bombers host Cerro Gordo Bement. Michi White had 19 points in Eastern Illinois' 78-72 win against Little Rock on Saturday. White shot 5 for 12, 3 for 4 from three-point range, and 6 for 6 from the free throw line for the Panthers, who improved to 11-16 and 7-9 in the Ohio Valley Conference. Zion Fruster scored 17 points and added 6 assists and 4 steals. Nazareth Fisher had 10 points and 9 rebounds. Cooper Jacoby had 10 points and 8 rebounds. Truman Clayton, the fourth, led the Trojans in scoring, finishing with 17 points and 2 steals. They fall to 10-17 and 7-9 in the OVC. Little Rock also got 13 points and 7 rebounds from Kachai Zay. Jonathan Lawson also had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Get highlights of your local high school programs by finding IL Sports Wire on your preferred social media